Thank you all for joining us for the Research Impact Challenge Information Session workshop. Today's workshop speaker is Christina Miskey, UNLV Libraries. I will now hand it over to Christina to get us started.
Okay, thank you so much for that introduction. So I just want to double check you can see my slides.
Yes, we can see it perfectly.
Okay, great. Um, so my name is Christina Miskey. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the Research Impact Librarian for UNLV Libraries. So today I'm going to introduce you to an event that the UNLV Libraries holds each fall semester called the Research Impact Challenge. I've broken down this event into four main topics that I'm briefly going to cover today to introduce you to what the Impact Challenge is, and we'll open it up for questions throughout the workshop. So let's just jump right into it. First, we're going to talk about what happens during and after something gets published. I'm going to quickly recap the scholarly publication process in case you're not familiar with it, so that we're all on the same page. So, when you're going to write something for publication, usually you go through a writing process, editing process, and then you submit it for publication to a journal or to a publisher. From that point, the editor or editorial team reviews your publication, and if it's going through peer review, they'll accept or reject it for peer review. Or if it's not going through peer review, they'll accept it or reject it for publication. If your publication is going through peer review, then it'll go through the peer reviewers. And there's three different kinds of peer review that are currently in use. There's open peer review, which means that the author and the reviewer know who each other are. There's blind peer review, where the author does not know who the reviewer is. And there's double blind peer review, which means that the reviewer and the author don't know who each other are. This usually requires you to anonymize your manuscript and remove any references to like your institution and things like that to it. After it goes through peer review, it gets sent back to you as the author for editing based on reviewer comments and feedback. Before then, it goes back to the editor and editorial team for final copy editing, typesetting, and then it gets published. And what we're going to cover is step 6, this last part of the process here, and sharing your publication after it gets published. So once your article gets published, there's generally a few things that happen. First, the publication will start advertising online using social media, email listservs, and any professional organizations that are relevant to that publication. You, as the author, and your co-authors can also start sharing the new publication on things such as your personal website, your own social media, or any other professional networking sites that you have accounts on. You can also share a version of your publication in a repository in many instances. Over time, others will start to read your publication and they might even share it themselves. And as other researchers publish their own work, they can cite and use your publication as part of their research. You can also use things like metrics or measurements of impact to track who is talking about your research and how far it reaches in academia, in the public, and beyond. So now I'm going to talk about what happens after your work starts getting attention and why it's important to care about that attention. So since we're going to talk a lot about impact, I want to share a quick definition of what exactly I mean when I say impact. So impact is the effect that research has in the field, in academia, and beyond that. Measuring impact helps us to understand how far our research goes, who's interested in it, and more. Impact, however, isn't just about measurements, numbers, and statistics. It's important to understand that and be able to provide the context and overall to tell the story of why your research matters, who should care about your research, what group it might impact the most, and how it changes the field or a specific community and what your overall contribution to that is. So to break it down, research impact, especially for early career researchers like yourself, you should care about your impact because careers in academia measure research impact long term as part of their hiring processes, tenure and promotion, and things like that. It can also help you get funding for future research projects if that's something you're interested in. Other careers outside of academia might also place importance on significant or impactful research, depending on what their career is. And showing your impact is important because it can help you with your job applications, with your cover letters and your interviews, funding applications if you're applying for funding, and overall increase your professional reputation in academia and beyond that, depending on what your field is. So I've already covered a lot of information really quickly. I'm going to give you some examples of what it means to show your impact in the real world to kind of help put this into perspective and give you some examples. So the first example is a professor of decision sciences, and they created an impact narrative as part of their expert portfolio. So I'm going to make sure you can see this new screen. Okay.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, let me zoom in on this because this is really small. So, this researcher, Iona Popescu, is a professor of decision sciences, and she created a profile for her research impact. So what she did is she took numbers and statistics based on funding and impact and citations and created a narrative around that to explain the context of her impact. So there's a brief summary here of impact. The very first one which stands out is Popescu is one of the most influential and innovative scholars in the field of revenue management. Her creative approach to understanding how consumers think and why they make the choices they do has had implication on the pricing models globally. And then it goes on to provide, I'm not going to go into super detail about this. I am going to provide a copy of my slides so you can get a link to this and look at it in more detail. But some other highlights that are really important include Popescu has published papers in leading academic journals, including management science and operations research. She's been cited 2,452 times, which is a significant number in a niche field. So this sentence I want to particularly point out because it's not just providing a number of citations, it's also saying she's in a niche field, and this number of citations in particular is important because that's really high for that field. And that's another thing to consider is depending on what field you're in, is the number of citations is going to vary. Some fields get barely any citations, and if you get 2 citations, that's a cause to celebrate. Other fields, if you get 150 citations, that's normal. So it really depends on what your field and subject area is. But the important thing is you want to provide context to those numbers. And there's other things in here, like, for example, funding that she has received and examples of links out to paper and why that research was specifically important. Like, for example, this paper was the first to present a particular idea in that field, which is significant, but it doesn't have a numerical value, but it is still significant. Examples of why she's a pioneer of pricing analytics and things like that. So this is a way to show impact that's not necessarily limited to numbers, which I think is really important. So the next example, I'm going to use one of our own professors from the UNLV Department of Geosciences, Carrie Tyler, and show impact of research as a news story publication. So this is from the UNLV News Center, and this is a UNLV study validates marine fossil record, providing reliable benchmark for deteriorating underwater ecosystems. And then the article goes on to talk about how this new study published by Professor Carrie Tyler that was published makes a huge discovery in marine biology. And so it goes on to explain like the findings are significant because the ability to compare ancient and modern ecosystems gives scientists greater insight into specific ways that a marine habitat's history might influence future conservation strategies. So this is explaining why this particular research is important and impactful, and it's not necessarily using numbers. And then there's a great picture here of Professor Tyler, and there's some other ways that it talks about, goes into more details about the study and things like that. So this is another great example of how, for example, using UNLV resources to promote your own research is a great way to boost your impact and get exposure because this is a national publication and it allows the professor to hype up their own research and talk about why it's important. Finally, this other, sorry, excuse me one. Okay. So this last example I have is a video. So I'm not going to play the video because it's 3 minutes long. But basically, the video is a couple of teachers from Queensland University that are describing how they talk about their professional portfolios and what they put in them, the pressures associated with that, and how they consider what things to put in their portfolios and what things they don't put in their portfolios. So this video is a really great way to kind of look at how people from other parts of the world consider what to put in their professional portfolios and what they focus on. So I thought that was a really good example that you could also look at after this workshop. So next, I'm going to talk about Research Impact Challenge event and how you can participate in that event. So a Research Impact Challenge is an event often organized by institutions like UNLV or experts to help challenge researchers. During these challenge events, participants complete daily tasks for a given period of time to learn more about citation metrics, alt metrics, and other tools that measure impact. Challenges like this also help participants to understand a wide variety of methods that they can use to demonstrate and increase the impact and reach of their scholarly research. UNLV's challenge, which is hosted by the University Libraries, is 5 days long and is taking place this fall between September 16th and the 20th. Any faculty member or graduate professional students can and are encouraged to participate in the challenge. So like I said, UNLV's Impact Challenge consists of 5 daily challenges that are each focused on a specific theme to help researchers and authors learn about new ways to demonstrate the impact of their research at whatever career stage they might be in. Each day has a main challenge that participants can complete and will also feature an optional bonus challenge to further your understanding of that day's theme. Finally, there will also be an opportunity to get more hands-on experience each day with workshops, a pop-up table, and different ways to interact with our expert librarians and staff. Plus, when you participate in the challenge, you can enter to win a great prize package that has lots of really cool things in it. So each day you participate in the challenge, you can enter to win. And the prize package includes some really cool library swag, your work that if you have any publications that are shared on the front page of UNLV's institutional repository, your work featured on UNLV Library's social media so we can help hype up your work, and a UNLV Today story that's going to feature you as the winner. So I think that's a pretty fantastic prize package. So here's what this year's 5 daily challenges are going to be. And they tend to change every year, so there's always something new to experience each year. So for this year, on day one, we're going to learn how to track citations with Google Scholar. So you'll learn how to track citations of your work. There will also be open office hours where you can stop by and talk with me one-on-one and get some one-on-one question time, and I can answer all of your burning questions about impact. Day two, you'll learn about making your ORCID work for you. So you'll learn about author IDs and why they're important and how to make it work for you to make your life easier. I'm also going to be holding a pop-up table in the Grad Commons in the Grad College for you to stop by. And more details about that will be released later, but I will be in the Grad Commons for you to stop by and ask me all the questions you want about ORCID. On day three, we'll talking about share your work online and learn ways that you can share your work to reach broader audiences. The event that day will be a lunch and learn hosted at the UNLV libraries, which will be a catered lunch where you can come and talk with people about how they share their work online and get some tips and tricks for doing so. Day four, we'll be exploring alternative metrics. So you'll learn what alt metrics are and a new tool that we have at UNLV. And there will also be a live demo session that you can attend and learn more about how that tool works. And then finally, on day five, you'll learn about how to make your data open and the pros and cons of doing so. So that's this year's challenges. I'm really excited about these. I think they're going to be really great, especially for grad students, and help you learn the ins and outs of all of these different things. So the challenge always takes place in the fall semester. And this year it's starting on Monday, September 16th, and ending at 5 p.m. on September 20th. If you want to be entered into the drawing to win the prize package, you need to register your participation before Friday at 5 p.m. Otherwise, you can go back and do any of the challenges at any point during the academic year, and the information stays available throughout the academic year, so you don't have to worry about if you can't participate during that week. So finally, let's talk about how you can participate in the challenge. So the Research Impact Challenge website, this is where you go to participate in the challenge every year. So we still have last year's challenges up because I'm in the process of updating the website now, but you can go and learn about each of the challenges, and then each of the daily challenges will be here, and then you can click on any one of these and learn about the challenge and events related to the challenge and things like that. So it's really going to be, it's a one-stop shop. There will also be announcements in UNLV today so that you can see where to go every single day, and more advertisements and information will follow as well. And that's it for me. So here's my contact information, the link to the website, the link to a Research Impact Library Guide, and a QR code if you want to reach out and schedule a consult with me.
Thank you so much for this insightful information, Christina. We will open the floor up for any questions that you guys might have. You can type them in the chat. You can directly chat me if you want to remain anonymous. But if we don't have any questions, we can wrap it up. We have another session coming up at 2 p.m. as well. Okay. Thank you, Christina. So thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise with us today, Christina. And thank you all for the participants that joined us today and learned about today's topic. We will be posting this workshop on the Graduate College YouTube channel later on for your reference. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you once again, Christina. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.